Do you need an attitude adjustment? Well, I want to tell you a story today, but before I do, I want to give a few shout outs. So as you're hopping on, say hello and let me know where you're coming in from. If we haven't met before, I'm Tracy Chalmers and I'm an elevation student here at Elite Marketing Pro, and I'm also a mentor within this community. So I really wanted to hop on today and talk about a few things that I'm seeing within our community, within our network marketing industry, and in the world in general. So I thought it'd be fun to talk about it through story, and maybe my point will come across that way. So as you're jumping on, make sure you say hello and let me know who you are and where you're coming from. And if we haven't met, it's a pleasure to meet you. Hi, Brian. Good morning. Nice to see you. Hey, Marilyn from Idaho. How are you? Good to see you. I hope you're having a fantastic day. So, do you need an attitude adjustment? I know I certainly did a few years ago. And I would venture to say that each and every one of us, maybe not in this moment, but we've all needed an attitude adjustment from time to time. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a story that was shared with me, oh gosh, not very long ago, in fact, by someone who I admire greatly. And the story goes like this. Now, there were these young boys in a small village in Ireland. And they were young, and it was kind of years and years and years ago. So, you know, there wasn't a lot of money in the villages, and there wasn't a lot of, safe places like there are nowadays. You know, there were no teachers to protect the kids, or that were willing to anyway. But these young boys were being bullied by some older boys in their village. And these older boys would just relentlessly bug and tease and hurt and pick on and beat up these young boys. Now, this one particular day, these young boys found themselves near this super tall wall. And they were kind of hanging out there. They were throwing rocks against the wall. One of them had a little ball and they were bouncing it against this wall, just minding their own business, just being young, good boys. Now, these two bullies came along, the same bullies that bugged them every single day, and grabbed the hats right off of their heads and tossed them over that tall wall. Now, this was a time back in Ireland, apparently it was Ireland, so we'll go with it. That's how the story went for me. Back in Ireland when, there wasn't a lot of money. Their parents didn't have a lot of money, and, the boys couldn't go home without their hats because their parents would be upset with them. That was the only hat they had. And leaving the hats on the other side of the wall was simply not an option. They had to retrieve those hats. Hi, Fran. Hi, Cecilia. Hi, Petroline. So nice to see you. I hope you're enjoying the story. Give me some thumbs up and hearts if you're loving the story so far. So these young boys had to figure out a way to retrieve their hats, because leaving them behind and going home without them, it wasn't something that they could do. They absolutely had to retrieve their hats. And as the older boys, the bullies, walked away laughing, the young boys looked at each other and thought, okay, what are we going to do? So they had to figure out a way to get over that tall wall, because they certainly couldn't go around it. Like the wall went on forever and ever and ever, so it seemed. So they had to go up and over to get their hats. Well, they tried a couple of things, They stacked a few rocks, but then they quickly realized those rocks would teeter and tumble. They tried boosting each other over. Well, that wasn't going to work either. They tried and tried and tried, but every time they tried something new and different, they failed. Finally, they came up with an idea to grab a couple of big branches, and they took their shoelaces out of their shoes and tied some steps to get up and over that wall. And then they reached down, because there was a hill or something, I don't know, I wasn't there, I don't know the entire story, but they were able to retrieve their hats. Now, what's the moral of that story? If you know what the moral of that story is, put it in the comments below and let me know what you think that moral of the story is. Okay? Those boys tried and tried and tried and failed many times over to retrieve those hats. But they got the hats. They got creative, they got resourceful, and they retrieved those hats. So if you want something bad enough, here's the moral. If you want something bad enough, you will figure it out. It will be hard. It won't happen easy. And Jan, they didn't give up. Exactly. They got resourceful. They failed. They evaluated the situation and they went and tried something new, something different, and they made it happen. They got resourceful. Now, how does that apply to our daily lives and our businesses? So many people in our industry talk about DMO, daily method of operation, and systems that duplicate. And absolutely, those systems that duplicate and the DMOs are critical to our business. I believe that my DMO, my personal daily method of operation, has been critical in building my businesses and my income streams. Now, the one problem I do see with DMOs, and let me know what you're thinking with this. I'm not seeing any hearts or thumbs up, so I'm hoping you guys are getting value from this. I'm not, for whatever reason, it's just not showing up. So keep hitting that button. Give me some good jams on that one. Just hopefully it'll start working. But I know the one thing I have seen time and time again with people that I've coached and people that I work with, their DMO is fantastic. It may look fantastic on paper, but they don't actually implement it. They don't actually put it into action. They don't do it daily. It's not a consistent action that they do daily. Hi, Michael from California. Good to see ya. And who else is here? Regina, hi, nice to see you. So daily actions are critical. And with those daily actions and systems that duplicate, you need to reevaluate. Because what works for one person may not work for you. So my DMO may not work as beautifully for you. You need to evaluate it. You need to test and evaluate. And sometimes you're going to fail along the way, right? The other attitude adjustment I want to talk about today is the attitude of entitlement. Too many people think when they're in this industry or this business, they think about, well, what's in it for me, right? That's an entitled attitude. That's true, isn't it, Tom? Yeah, absolutely. So many people think, well, what's in it for me? Oh, I'm not going to do that. You know, what's in it for me? And that's a very small, narrow-minded way of thinking. Instead, what would be a great way to think that is far more valuable to your success and the success of others? If you have any idea, put a few words in the comments below and drop them in there and give me some ideas. There's some good ones, I'm sure. So what about thinking of a way to help others? Wow, how about that? Do you think that you can have successes by helping others? That's a value-driven attitude. That attitude in and of itself will give you great gratification and great success. When you help others, that helps you. Yeah, Jan, how can I use this to bless others? Exactly. So we are solution providers in this community, and that is a very value-driven attitude to take on. And when you can implement that into your daily method or your systems that duplicate, then absolutely those are going to be the things that you can repeat over and over and over, because that's not hard to repeat, is it? When you're always giving value to others and helping others, you can repeat those day in and day out. So let's talk about Babe Ruth for a minute, because I know in the headline, the title, I said, what do some young boys and Babe Ruth have in common? So Babe Ruth, let's take a look at his successes and failures. Now, if you don't know who Babe Ruth is, and certainly I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I know who Babe Ruth is. And he set the world record for home runs. He also set the league record for strikeouts. So he had just as many, probably more so, I would venture to say more so, more failures, more strikeouts in his career than he had in home runs. So what that tells me is that successful people fail and they fail again, and they continue failing over and over and over until they get their successes. One failure does not mean you should quit. It just means that you should test it, you should evaluate it, look at what worked, look at what didn't, think about what you can do differently, adjust it, practice, and test it again. And keep doing this all the way to the top. That is a tried and true strategy. Think about those boys trying to retrieve their hats. They had to figure out how to get over that wall. They had to try something, it failed, that was a test. They tweaked it, they adjusted, they reevaluated, they got creative, they got curious, they got resourceful. All of those words are critical in building your business. There's so many people in this community that will run an ad, and then as soon as it doesn't work, they give up, they get frustrated, it doesn't work. Well, you know what? I was one of those people. And I'm telling you that with absolute rawness and vulnerability. Early on, I was one of those people. I became super frustrated and critical of myself, thinking, I'm failing at this and I'm failing fast. What do I do? And I was so teetering on the edge of giving up. And then I had some incredible words from a variety of mentors that really taught me the lesson of evaluation and becoming resourceful. And those were critical components in my DMO that helped me build successful income streams. Okay? So make failure a part of your story. It's a huge part of mine. I still have failures every day that I have to look at, evaluate, tweak, adjust, think of what worked, what didn't work, what might I do differently, and try it again. Those failures are going to be a huge part of your story moving forward. And just know that all of your failures today are building up and leading to your great successes moving forward, because you're learning every time you fail. You're learning more and more and more as you go along. So do you want a life of playing it safe, being mediocre? Exactly, Tom. Embrace the failure as a chance to learn. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because every failure pushes you that much closer to those successes, right? There's stair steps to success. Exactly, Jen. Oh boy, there's so many smart people in this group. So do you want to live a life of mediocrity and just fail and give up? Or are you really going to go after what it is that you're desiring, the impact you can make in other people, the legacy you can leave for your family? Get resourceful, go after what you want, and keep testing. Okay? So I hope the lesson of Babe Ruth and those little guys that were bullied in Ireland taught you something today. Alrighty, guys, I hope you have a fantastic day. DDOA will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 o'clock Eastern, I think it is. So go out and be awesome. Test, 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 fail, test, and succeed. You got this. Talk soon.